And hello, and welcome to another video. Today we're interviewing the developers behind Letter Lost, an upcoming cozy and eerie job sim where you uncover mysteries while working a job at a post office. The game is releasing pretty soon, and I was very excited to be able to host Christine and Harrison Wade live on my Twitch channel, where we discuss the plethora of aspects of what goes into making a game like this. And I hope that you'll enjoy this little peek behind the curtain here. If you like what you're hearing about here, or if you want to check out the game, you can do so via the link in the description or the QR code on screen. We'll be interviewing today Harris and Kristen Wade. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having us.
What is your game about? Or what is Letter Lost about?
Yeah, from a story perspective or more from a meta-narrative perspective, like what are you curious about?
Just like explain what your game is, like, pitch it so that people that don't know the game can...
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, our short pitch would be this is a totally normal post office game where nothing weird ever happens. On a deeper level, we call it something like Papers, Please meets Inscription. So a dystopic work simulator meets escape room spooky puzzles.
Yeah, I mean, it's a post-office simulation game where you just can't escape. And also you wake up in a dungeon for onboarding's sake, which is a bit odd. Like, yes, but besides that, nothing really happens that is scary or anything like that. Where does the inspiration come from, really? Like, what made you want to make this game?
Yeah, kind of a few places, and we're still discovering, like even today I discovered like, oh, that was a weird inspiration I had. My friend who designed a lot of the initial puzzles for the game builds and designs escape rooms, like live escape rooms for his day job. And I was looking to make a game studio, and he was looking to sort of get into that sort of work as well. And we just started drafting out these concepts for what if the room that you were trying to escape was your job. And it started off as like a few different concepts. One of them was a baking simulator. We had another few ideas, and then it just sort of evolved into the post office eventually.
And it became this kind of game that is set in a very foggy and always rainy UK-inspired region. Out of nowhere, I reckon. Just along the way, it just happened.
Yeah, it's there's a few things for it. One of the discoveries today that I had was that a lot of the parts of this town that you live in on the game are inspired by my hometown, which is just a small town in the middle of Illinois, where it's just been sort of in decay for years and years and years, and there's just funny things that happen there. And so I wanted a town that, everyone was sort of blissfully unaware of the weird things going on there, and the fog and the time, weird stuff with time and whatever else is all encompassing this this totally normal town that they all live in and are blissfully unaware of it all.
I think that another thing that naturally happens is that people sort of imbue their own things on top of the game. A lot of it is vaguely 1920s to 50s, vaguely coastal, vaguely Lovecraftian. And so people take what relates to them and put it into the game. We really don't set it in a very specific place so that you can let your imagination fill in the gaps.
Yeah, the like I called it UK inspired kind of because it is Lovecraftian in a way, with the mysteries and the undertones, the eerie atmosphere that you get from it, but also that the map looks kind of like the UK a little bit, but like abstracted. It's changed, it's different, and I find that interesting. Like it adds, like it explains the shit weather, but also adds a bit of a mysterious undertone to it that is also something that you can find in the US, obviously. I mean, Silent Hill exists, know?
I guess you'll have to see if that map stays the same.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are you so certain it's the only map?
Maybe it isn't. Who knows? Maybe the full release has different areas. Who knows? Maybe you'll get sent away eventually.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, I really dig the atmosphere and the constant, like, almost like the rain sounds constantly, and the soundscape in general is like very, very interesting. How many people are working on the sound and the writing and Flatline Studios in general?
In general, we have now it's me and Christine, our two full-time developers. We have another lovely married couple. Their names are Jackson and Bailey. They are also full-time. And then we have several smaller contractors that have done anything from a few hours of work to several multiple weeks worth of work on the game as well. In all, maybe, I don't know, close to 15 or so people have touched the game in some way, but the 4 full time.
That's super cool. Is there some certain, like, are there certain feelings that you wanted to invoke with, especially like with music and sound, but also like the writing, that you hope that people get from the game?
Definitely. With the sound and the atmosphere, like you mentioned, the rain, you know, we're sort of trying to balance this like uncanny valley, strange, um, definitely unsettling atmosphere, but balance that with almost this zen-like rain and the soft, you know, dark, moody piano while you're sorting letters and stuff. You can really get into this like zen flow state, and it's very cozy. But then all the lights shut off and a weird customer appears, and it's creepy again. And that sort of pendulum swing back and forth between those two ethos sort of are what we're trying to hit with the sound. In terms of the writing, I think it is fascinating, the concept of like the unreliable narrator and gaslighting the player and all these things, to where, you know, you as the player, you know that you woke up in a dungeon, but then everyone's like, there's no such thing as a dungeon. Why would a post office have a dungeon? And then you go and open the door and it's not a dungeon, and you're like, wait a second. You know, so concepts like that are deeply ingrained in the sort of foundation of what this game is.
Yeah, I feel like the gaslighty aspect to it, but also like it's a job simulator, but also kind of an escape room in a way, with a story and some like side plots and whatnot that you can figure out. It's very, very unique and interesting in how it approaches the game. I'm wondering though, would it theoretically be possible to play the game just as a job simulator and never like engage? If you never engage with any of the stuff, do you reach an ending, or does it just keep going? Or
Harrison has a philosophy in this game in particular that things should not happen unless the player pushes against them. So we had early on, when we would watch some streamers, every once in a while we'd get someone who had said, you know, I just sat and let the game run and nothing happened. And it's like, right, you didn't do anything, so then nothing's going to happen. If you just stand there, it doesn't just plop into your hands. And in fact, it's been designed in such a way that in order to pursue stories and pursue mysteries, it takes the player prodding at them. So while you could, I think about if I played the game today right now, and I just went downstairs from my room and I just sorted mail every day and went back up, there'd be friction. There would be things that people are like trying to hint that, hey, maybe you should check this out. We don't want to leave the player in a place where they don't feel like they're confused. But at the same time, an ending is not going to plop into your lap if you don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, Harrison. I don't think an ending will plop in your lap unless you prod.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, story-wise, there are you learn what happens to all of your predecessors at the post office who just sat around and did nothing. You know, things like that. But in the actual game, like, no, we want you to do things, and it's really strange to me to get that feedback from people, to say like, I stood around and nothing happened. It's like, well, okay, go do that in Breath of the Wild and see what happens. Like, just stand there and nothing will happen. Why is our game the one that's like nothing's happening? So yeah, you have to play the game to get an ending.
And we've worked really hard to put a lot of breadcrumbs around to entice you, to make you wonder, ways to help the player move towards those. But at the same time, you could just say, no, thank you. All I want to do is sort the mail, and the game will let you do that.
Yeah, I find it very, very interesting. I think it's important that you have kind of the incentives for people to push, but also the game doesn't force you to it. Like, you can find clues all over the place theoretically, to the point where anything could suddenly be a clue. And I found that interesting while I was playing the demo. And I'm looking forward to seeing like what other like hints and pieces are lying about that didn't serve like a function in the demo but will in the full release, especially with like these side quests and the like. Now the game also does feature like something that is teased in the game, like the demo, but isn't in the demo yet, with the truck, for instance, truck loading, and then you have other responsibilities. Is that also kind of part of the horror, in your opinion, or is that rather part of the charm of the game? Is it or rather, is that a scary portion having more responsibilities at a certain point, or is that rather, oh, more coziness in your eyes?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we're definitely looking to hit that, like, there is a cozy aspect to the mail, but you know, too much of any one thing can cause someone to feel overwhelmed. And yeah, I think that is a part of the game, is as the game progresses, there is more mail, there are more responsibilities, there are more things to do. And ultimately, you know, the secret is that you could just ignore them and do whatever you want, because you're working at a job where you can't get fired. But if someone is trying to keep on top of that sort of stuff, yeah, you can feel the pressure of that, you know. And that's evident in a game like Papers, Please, where, you know, it's a 2D point and click game where you're like sorting passports, you know, but it's very high tension when you're trying to go fast and like get people through and make enough money to be able to afford the things each night, you know. That is an aspect of it, of the I guess we could call it horror or tension of trying to stay on top of all the work.
This is something we put a lot of time into, you know, moving the needle on how much mail, how little mail, how interesting are the games, because, you know, if you make the mini games too enticing, people will not seek out the rest of the game. And so we want to lull people into a place of like, well, what else do I do? Because that question, what else do I do, is what gets you up out of the mail sorting desk and start messing around with things in the room. So it's something we've spent a lot of time tweaking, watching players, understanding player behavior, to find a sweet spot.
What is a specific thing that you implemented at one point during this development journey where you saw, like, I don't know, a streamer not understand something and you basically added something to help a little bit with nudging players forward?
Oh my God, there's so many. There are so many, actually. Because we actually watch, I mean, we've watched hundreds of streams. It's super valuable to watch because different people's brains. A very easy one I think of is Sedna, the mysterious woman with wet hair, gives you a package. And when in earlier versions of the demo, that package just said elusive admirer, we had to add 4 pickup onto it because people, although she said someone's coming to pick this up, there was too much information coming in at that time that we needed another visual clue to indicate that, you know, you could give this to anybody, but you really should probably wait until the person comes to you. So that was like a very, that was not there. It was never planned on being there. Watching streamers had us put it in.
The other one that comes to mind for me is, this is a slight spoiler for the first 30 seconds of the game, but you wake up in a dungeon, as we talked about, and then you walk up the stairs and you enter the post office. And my first thought when I was designing this like two plus years ago now was the door slams behind you. And my first thought in playing a game like that would be to turn around and check the door and see that it was not a dungeon anymore. And nobody does that. Everyone is just like, okay, cool, I'm in a post office. And so we had to write all this this dialogue prodding the player back through the door. Like we put things in the, you know, beyond that door to be like, hey, okay, go pick those things up. So then they go into that door and see that it's not a dungeon again. But yeah, 0% hit rate. Not a single person turned around and looked to see what was in that door.
I must say, having played the demo, I also didn't do that, but mostly because suddenly, oh, I know the dungeon already. I am now in a different room. It looks pretty cool. I want to see what all the things do.
Exactly, but it says custodian closet on the door, and no, everyone's just like, nope, that's a dungeon, because we haven't taught that. That's our mistake. It's nobody else's mistake. I'm not trying to imply that. Our mistake was thinking that we had taught the player by that point that things aren't what they seem, and obviously we hadn't. We had to prod them through that door so they open it and they go, oh, okay, and then they start to like put pieces together.
Yeah, also, I don't think it helps really that when you go out, you don't look at the door saying custodian door or anything, or custodian closet. But when you like turn around eventually, I don't remember what door I came from. Like, I came from a door. I don't know which door. So exactly. I suck at orientation. Like, I have no sense of direction really at times when I play games like this, and I just get, oh look, it's a shiny. Oh look, it's a whole new room and whatnot. I will have to say that I also like that there's a catalog with things that you can just buy. Like, you can just customize the room a little bit, so there is an incentive kind of to get through your day and not get penalties and earn your wage, sort of, even though it's less than minimum. Or maybe it's good. I don't know. For the time.
That was something we developed over time as well. Initially, it was going to be, if you didn't do well enough, you get fired and you have to start your week over. And our programmer had the idea that there should be some sort of rolling incentive, especially with the like ongoing gaslighting of like, you can't be fired. Well, it doesn't matter if you're fired then and have to start over. So having the ongoing incentive to keep bringing you back to the mail to buy upgrades, or there are stories hidden in the purchase book and things like that to upgrade and unlock. So yeah, having this continued incentive to go back to the mail, even when you're trying to do other things, there's always something that brings you back to it.
It is.
People love a wallpaper too. People love like a cosmetic moment.
Yeah, I mean, making the office your own. I mean, you live here, you work here, you can't leave, And, everyone would get tired, go crazy over the same white walls. So, and cozy games do have customization. And as everyone knows, the end game in every Souls-like is...
Fashion Souls.
Yeah, fashion. Is there some part of a game that design-wise or like programming or other parts of it were like especially challenging for you?
Ooh, that is a great question.
Because I believe this is your first game, right?
This is our first game as a studio. Our two other full-time developers were on the team that produced Wildermyth, though, so this is not their first game. Yeah, I mean, so we have a game in which there is a set amount of time during the day. You have a work shift, etc., and then you're sent up to your room. And then you can find this out in the demo, but when you start your next week, you have a new... I'm trying to figure out how to say this without spoiling anything. You have a new work week, right? And so time starts back to the beginning of a week. And so, yeah, that bit right there of figuring out everything in the post office has to have the right tags and data associated with it to make sure that it resets correctly to start the new week. And every once in a while, we'll see someone on stream pull out a book or a piece of paper or something and throw it on the ground, and then it's still there at the start of the next week, and it's like, oh man, and that's something we probably should have done earlier on, but ideas come and it's like, oh, what if it was this? And then you're 150, 200 items deep in the post office and it's too late to go back now. So things like that are difficult to track. It's just a lot of things to keep in mind at one point in time.
Yeah, I think that there's a saying amongst programmers where you fix a bug and it causes 100 new ones. And there's something about that with like designing a new feature or changing things around in a game. At least that's what I've heard from most game developers I've ever talked to. It's always fun. What is your favorite part of making Letter Lost so far? Like, what is a moment that you found especially cool, or what is something that you really enjoyed doing?
Do you have one, Christine?
I like being really mean as Liv. I just think it's a real treat. It's, I mean, just like playing the character is very fun, and then getting to like come into streams, sort of half in character, half not. It's an enjoyable thing. We come from a theater background, and that's what we do for our day job is theater. So bringing that into game development has been really enjoyable and
Mhm.
very different. You know, I think it's unexpected for people. So I really like that. I'm also doing a lot of back end work on the game that I didn't expect to be doing because I live my life going, how hard could it be? And so I'm just learning a lot of things about programming and whatnot, just to like help ease the load for other people. And I really like learning new things. So I just think that's an enjoyable thing.
I really love getting to interact with our community and meet new people and bring new people into the community and then get them interacting with each other. It's just so much fun to see people now on our Discord. They're in on the shtick of it being a totally normal post office, and they joke amongst themselves now and sort of role play all of that. Whereas before we were the only ones doing it. So seeing other people who had next to 0% chance of ever meeting each other meet each other through our project here is really, really satisfying. I think that's just super cool. I love it.
You mentioned it earlier as well, Christine, that you're the voice for Liv in the game, who's your direct superior as the player. What's your favorite part of acting that role out?
There are so many layers to Liv and why she's there and why she's doing what she's doing. And I think it's very fun to imbue that into, especially the earlier game where it's just very mysterious and she's very coy. Um, it's just like you're getting to lay groundwork for a lot of fun reveals later in the game. Um, it's just quite enjoyable to suss out. And I mean, she's very interesting. The world is very mysterious and complex, and so I think a lot about how people are going to interpret a lot of the game and a lot of Liv's character and who she is. And I think that's just exciting to think about too.
Is there a part of Liv that makes it into your day-to-day life?
Harrison, is there a part of Liv? Yeah, no, well, one, I've played some characters that are a lot like Liv on stage, and so that's kind of fun to be able to be like, oh, I can pull from those. But no, there's absolutely a lot of parts of Liv in me and me and Liv, and I like to think I'm not quite so manipulative, but I don't know. I suppose my spouse could speak for me more than I can, but Harrison sometimes is like, uh-oh, there's Liv, found her.
Oh, that's weird. My mic is cutting out and I can't respond.
Really got to check those lines, and suddenly there's a stranger in front of the door. And
Yep.
Weird, nothing weird ever happens here.
Nothing
Not
at
here,
all.
nope.
What are some versions of Liv that didn't make it into the game?
I think one of the big things that we kind of played back and forth with was this like uncanny valley Fallout style 50s saccharine stuff. And there are absolutely aspects of that, but I think we kind of leaned a little farther away from that. Rarely is she like super sugary sweet. She is sometimes bubbly, but not in this very kind of robotic, joyous way. So that was kind of a direction that we had thought about, and every once in a while she leans into that. She's also, from my understanding, because I haven't read all the scripts yet, my understanding, I know everything about her, but I just haven't read all the words yet because they're not done. Or they're done, but they're not in my hands. My understanding is that when she really gets mean, it's pretty choice. It's not all the time. So like she lives in this middle ground for a lot of the game, and only every once in a while does she get to the edges of her personality. And again, I think it would be another version of her is a lot more erratic, is a lot more scary, creepy, whatever. But I think we have chosen to make those things more highlighted in special moments so they stick out versus getting almost immune to them if you listen to it all the time.
Are there any specific directions you received for acting her out, or did like the character come like naturally to you?
I would say 90% of the lines are just recorded once, and that's the line, and that's what it is. 5% of that last 10% is me saying something like flubbing a line or a mouth sound, and the other 5% is a direction. So I kind of just, I let my heart tell me who she is, and I just go ahead and do it. But, you know, I think anytime I do get a note, it's mostly just the bumpers on the bowling alley that are just like, all right, just a little bit less this, a little bit more this. Because sometimes also when you're reading VO docs, it can be hard at times to understand the context of everything, because sometimes you're reading, you're actually recording many responses to the same query, and you know that is not so hard when you're only recording one set of queries and responses. When you're recording hundreds of them, sometimes you can get lost as to like, wait, what am I originally responding to here, and what do I can't spoil that. I was gonna say, you know, no, I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there. That's all I'm gonna say.
Just no comment. You know, it's a mystery game, you know, and whatever
Who
that
knows?
refers to is a mystery as well, I guess.
Let's just say there's a lot of things that are not in the demo.
Yeah, like the game is coming out in 3 weeks. Currently, like in the demo, I believe Liv is the only voiced character, right? Are there gonna be other voiced roles in there?
There are several other voices that appear on the radio. I don't know if the radio was active when you played or not, but the radio has turned into this really cool community aspect of the game, this community building and sourced. It's a lot of voices from fans, it's a lot of voices from content creators, and it has just evolved into something that is really, really cool. Like, we have a lot of people that are in the universe now and got to make characters and voice characters and bring these characters to life. But as far as customers go, no, there are no other voiced customers, and there are some slight story reasons for that.
I see. Now, with a game like coming out in, I believe, like 3 weeks or 2 weeks, something like that, are you feeling the crunch, kind of? You know, is stuff picking up in pace, and are you working harder on it, even though you should take breaks? Are there moments like that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm working every hour that I'm awake right now, but I enjoy what I'm doing, you know, so I'm not burning out with it. I am quite tired, but yeah, it is a lot of work, and we are coming up on it. So I just want to make sure that everything is as complete and clean and finished and like what we want it to be as possible.
Are there times when other people are crunching and you just have to hold them back a little bit?
Yeah, I try to, you know, I want to be cognizant of, like, at least with my workflow, when I'm inspired to work, it's not as tiring as like when I'm forcing myself to work. So, you know, if I'm for myself crunching, it would be less tiring to do it now than to put it off later and try to force myself to do it another time, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know. I think people work in different ways, and while I try to remind other people to, you know, like maybe take the weekend off, rest, relax if they seem tired, etc., like I also do want to empower people to work in a way that they feel comfortable with or need as well. And sometimes, like for my own process, I need that crunch to sort of like light a fire under me, you know.
Yeah, I feel like pressure does a lot of things, especially if you have a deadline. You know, it gets so much easier to get work done. Like, I noticed that from my own creative endeavors sometimes when I know, okay, it needs to be done by this date, I suddenly get so much more work done on it than when I have like a loose idea of when I want to release something, and then worst case, I'll push it back or something like that. So pressure definitely helps. And as you mentioned, I think independent games are all about passion. So, you know, passion or inspiration, the muses making the workflow easier, or easier bearable, at least, is definitely a thing, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and there are a lot of concepts in the game that I think we have defined well enough now to where, to a certain degree, they write themselves. And that's evident when we're writing like the businesses that appear in the guide, or little blurbs about lore bits. I can sit down and smash something out in 30 seconds, and it's like that's the lore. Like I just made it up, and that's it. Because it comes very naturally. But there's a lot of little nitty gritty things in the endings and like making sure everything is correct. That's really what takes me the longest to write and is the most fatiguing personally.
How many endings are there in the game? Or will be, or what can you say?
I think maybe, yeah, there are multiple. I want to say somewhere around 4, and then there are variants within those endings as well. But yeah, we'll say a soft 4.
You mentioned also like a lot of blurbs and stuff. I noticed during my playtime with the demo that you can open letters and look at the insides, even though you're not supposed to do that. How does writing those work for you? Like, do you just have a whole list? Does the community get involved?
Yeah, there are a lot of letters that are sourced by fans. We have a link active right now, actually, where anyone listening can submit a letter, and if it's in time, it'll be in the game. So yeah, there's a lot of people who have written things to loved ones or have ways of commemorating people they've lost, etc., that are going to make it into our game, and they'll be immortalized, and I think that's super cool. Otherwise, there's a ton of just like world building, lore, intrigue, drama, gossip, etc. in those letters.
There's about 500 letters you can read. I think about 100 of them are probably from fans. But we have, as Harrison said, there's a lot of things in the game that are, I just think, really interesting, creative touches that bring time, like that look at time through the lens of a game. Things like there's an employee of the week painting in the janitor's closet, and a fan who won one of our grand prizes at a convention wanted to memorialize his dad on that. That on the radio, there's a radio station called the Bard Radio, where it's actually Shakespeare monologues from people in like the 1910s. And these are real, actual recordings from the 1910s of famous Shakespeare artists who have victrolas of their voices doing these famous monologues. And I just think, and there's paintings on the walls from the 1800s. And I just think it is so cool to be able to bring all of that creativity through hundreds of years into this game to serve the storytelling of the game. And that's just all over the place in the post office.
I think that it's really, really cool that in part, like, the community can immortalize letters to lost ones or loved ones, and that you have that portrait with the employee of the month in there. I think that's really, really cool. Is there any specific stories that you want to share, like, that really touched you?
Yeah, I mean, the one Christine brought up was really touching. And then for personal reasons too, like, so that person, their father had recently passed away, and so we offered them, hey, let's put them up on the employee of the week, and so the picture of their father appears up on there, and it's not their real name, for privacy reasons, and
Obviously.
that was really touching. And then at the beginning of this year, my father passed away unexpectedly. And so I had up to that point been putting little Easter eggs and references of my dad in the game. He was a piano tuner in life and musician and all these things. So there's all these references in the guidebook for him and things like that. And so we put him on the employee of the week board as well. And so now he is immortalized in the game too.
Oh, that's very, very
letters,
adorable.
There's a series of recipes that are from MP. That's from my dad. So I I put recipes of his in some letters, and he has a cookbook from in the library. Yeah, there's a lot of personal things that are really just for us. You know, I understand no one else will ever get it, but it's fun for us.
I saw
It
some
is.
fan theories around the recipes so far, so people are looking
Oh
them
my
up. Yeah, they're like, who is
Well, one
this
of them is
NP?
like a gnocchi one that's just like the recipe's actually too long, and so it's just like boil potatoes, rice them, make gnocchi. That's it. That's the recipe. You know, it's just like so. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
What are some of your favorite fan theories that have been formed out of the ones that are not actually referring to the game? Like, I mean, as in ones that wouldn't spoil
Yeah,
the game, you know?
yeah. I'm gonna list several of them and neither confirm nor deny that any of them
Gotcha.
are what's going on here. You know, aliens is a popular one. A lot of people
Fun.
are like, oh, yep, that's an alien. You know, um, that you're in some sort of purgatory or hell is fun. That oh, what else? Now I'm blanking on them actually.
I'm sure Kristen can help as well.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
think. I mean, a lot of people think you're in a purgatory.
yeah. That's probably the most popular one. Is some sort of purgatory
Yeah.
situation,
Having to
and
live
live
where
as a
your work
demon.
sounds terrible.
Yeah.
There are some theories because I think Dredge is a similar game in many ways. This like you're doing something mundane and then it's creepy and things like that. I think there's a lot of theories about like people see Amon and they'll be like, "Is that me?" You know, because that's how Dredge was.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Yeah, I think it's like Aliens, for instance, is funny because with the vibes of a game and even references to some of the works of his, you know, there are Lovecraftian undertones in there, you know, minus the racism, you know.
Yeah.
Always.
We kept the racism out, but yeah, brought the other
Good,
things in.
yeah. And it's I find it like it makes sense kind of associate that form of cosmic horror, you know, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the unfathomable, stuff that shouldn't be known by humans or mankind, and have those undertones of something creepy going on, but you don't understand what it is, and that's why it's scary. And some of it is also like some Lovecraftian horror stories are based in space, so aliens or the existence of something out there or whatever else. It does kind of tie into it, and I could see like things getting explained by either magic or aliens, you know, in a lot of ways. And I find that pretty interesting. Like,
Yeah. I think I mean I love all the fan theories. I think some people are really on the right track of what to think. I would also say that it's maybe not necessarily any singular answer, you know, and the player will have to figure that out as they play the game. But we've also I think this is such a fertile ground for continuing the story on with the way that we've written it. We tried not to write ourselves into corners as best as we could, to leave open ends for being able to continue the story into other games or other ways and things like that too. So there will be some things left up in the air as well.
but if the game is going to fully release, right? There's not going to be an early access or anything like that.
Correct.
And the story will be concluded sort of with the full release, right?
This story will be, yes.
And if there were like updates in the future, like DLCs or something like that, be it a free one or a paid one, would you do that, or have you considered that for like future for other storylines set in the same office, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely, I think, our preferred outcome is if the game does well enough to warrant adding more content to it. Like, we would love to do that. There are a lot of stories and ideas that are sort of 25 to 50% developed. They just didn't get far enough to make it into the game, and thus were either cut or didn't fit the overall story. But there's still things that we have in mind and that it would be super easy to just finish them up and be like, here you go, here's another, 5 to 10 hours of content if you would like. So yeah, that would be best case scenario for us. We would love to continue playing in this space, and there's plenty of room for more things to happen.
Have you thought of future projects already? Like, are there sometimes times where you think, oh, this would be a cool idea, but it doesn't fit for this game, maybe for a future game, like the creepy bakery thing or something along those lines?
That is, I have a big, list of notes on my phone. Christine and I will just be sitting there watching TV, and I'll pause it and pull out the phone and just make a huge note of something I saw. It's like, oh, I love that, So yeah, there's a huge list of ideas of what I want the next game to be, what I want the next story to be in this universe, in our studio, etc., etc.
Are there times where habits form during developer, stuff like that, where you take notes all of a sudden and pause a film or whatever in a good scene, and that kind of suck to have when you're living together or married and whatnot?
No, I mean, we're both creative, so we both work together at our theater too. So I just think the two of us, we just get each other's creative process. So we're like, yeah, I'm coming along. Let's do it. What are we doing?
I guess this has always been my process too. I'm a musician primarily. I'm a piano player, and I do a lot of playing by ear and improv and whatever else. And in addition to composing. And so we'll be watching a movie and I'll be like, oh, I love that 10 seconds of music, and just pause it and walk over to the piano and play it, and figure it out in that moment, So that has been throughout the entire time we've known each other. That has been what I'm like. So if it's a surprise at this point, that's on her more than me,
Typical men blame women,
Exactly.
Exactly. But that's really, really cool. I like, you mentioned earlier, putting some Shakespearean recordings into the radio, for instance, as well, and having the theater experience. I have some myself, probably not as much as you guys, but I love that. And yeah, I love that some of it made its way also into the game. I mean, your studio is also called Flat 9 Games, which, makes sense with the musician background. Is there a story behind the name?
It just sounded cool to me. Like I said, I'm a piano player. I had a whole list of musical terms. My whole family was very musical, and so I had a big list of musical terms that I was looking through, of something that wouldn't be, I didn't want it to be too overtly musical. Anyone who didn't know any better would just look at that and say flat 9, okay, whatever, A lot of people say flat line, but people who know get it, because it's obscure enough that it's not on the first level of knowledge in music. You have to know a little bit about music to know what that means. And so yeah, it's obscure, yet something that people who know music would get if they saw it. And it's just, I learned a lot of jazz piano in university, and that's a chord extension. That's the extent of it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. With you guys being very, very creative people and whatnot, and now indie developers as well, how do you feel about the state of indie development and many, many games releasing into early access, for instance, or sometimes even having trouble finding out of that? Sometimes games get Kickstarter campaigns and whatnot that are how do you feel about that as opposed to fully releasing games?
I think that because we don't come from a development background, and we come from another extremely scrappy, difficult to manage industry, theater is not sunshine and butterflies. We really look at it like an opportunity to do things in a different way. And we have a lot of reverence for people's expertise and the way things are done. But we've been told so many times, this is how it's done. This is how you're supposed to do it. You should do this. And we often are like, that's super cool. No, we're going to do this instead. And I think that I follow just a lot of indie games, and I think there's just a lot of pressure. You have to find a publisher. Well, a lot of the publishers are scamming people. Just
Yeah.
that's what's going on, is they're at the last moment trying to get 50% of a cut with giving nothing in return. They're essentially bad marketing teams. A lot of people are pressured into certain ways of marketing and these things that don't feel authentic to them. And this isn't me blaming other indies. This is me going, this is really unfortunate that we are sold an idea of how something has to be done. And I wish that more people would kind of follow their own values, their guts, their instincts, and be like, you know what? Why am I following all of the rules of an industry that is clearly not working right now? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents, is like, people are having to do what they need to do to get their games out the door because it's expensive and it's difficult. So I have absolutely no ill will towards games that have to go out in EA, don't get released, Kickstart, whatever. People are doing what they have to do. But at the same time, I just think thinking outside of the box is really valuable, and people should believe in their own convictions of, like, maybe it doesn't have to be done the way that so and so did it 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. It's really easy to get up on a soapbox and say a bunch of stuff, but I think ultimately, I agree with everything Christine just said. Making games is unbelievably difficult, unbelievably expensive, and way more time consuming than anyone who's never made one could even guess. And on top of that, I think there are some issues with consumer expectations that aren't resolved yet, that unfortunately are brought about by predatory practices, usually from larger studios, larger publishers, larger games, etc. And so expectations are brought onto smaller indies that are really difficult to live up to. I've seen a lot of commentary about indie games, the prices of indie games. It's too expensive, like $30 is too expensive for this, for some games. And it's like, well, it's probably priced that way because that's what it costs to make, and say what you will about other games costing $70 or $80. Like, the reason that people are making a lot of microtransactions and DLCs and things like that are to try to find ways to monetize themselves so that they can continue making products. And
I mean,
I don't know, there's whole discussions around that. I don't agree with any of that practice necessarily, but those are reasons why it's happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. Also, I just got a follow and it played the sound effect and I thought it was muted and it scared the heck out of me. Sorry about it. Basically, I think lots of people are trying to make things work, and game development in particular is like, some people get into it with the intention of making a living out of it and have to get there somehow first.
Yeah.
So it's very, very understandable. Do you feel a sense of pride so far in, like, the fact that you could make it to this line, to this, like, finish line almost? It's in sight and you're already there and you got so much done already and build a community without a publisher, for instance. And it's worked out so far.
I think it's such a huge point of pride, and this is where it can get hard when we've had people be like, "Oh, this is an asset flip, I can tell," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you have no idea how much money and time went into this." But again, I just think there's, and I will speak for myself too. I'm a gamer, longtime gamer. I knew nothing about development before this, so I'm not speaking from a high horse of like, gamers don't understand. I didn't understand, but there's a lot of assumptions, and it actually takes so much work to, we are staunchly an anti-AI company. We don't use generative AI in our company, but every asset in our game is not 3D crafted by us, because that would be unreasonably expensive for us to do. And I think sometimes consumers think X, Y, and Z about that, and I'm like, developers are put in this rock and a hard place in how they create things and how they price things. And so I just try to we're just pushing on, staying super proud and excited about what we're doing. And just also in building a community, giving people a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of what it actually takes to do this, because as Harrison said, way more time, effort, money than one would probably think. And I think it's actually helpful for consumers to know that as they are going into a game.
Yeah, like even Elden Ring used assets that they did not make themselves. Like they purchased assets for in the game. You know, a lot of games do it, and a lot of games are better than others at hiding that or whatever. You know, asset flips are a thing, but I think that's a consumer expectation, sort of miscommunication between people that like I personally don't feel like it's an issue that we have all the knickknacks on our shelves are a lot of them are assets that we've purchased from people who made them. None of them are AI created, you know, but if we didn't do that, quite frankly, those shelves would be empty. You know, it is not feasibly possible for us to do every single one of those in-house, because then the price would just balloon into something and then the game wouldn't be here. That's the truth of it.
It is also like a lot of people who say asset flip, but they don't understand what an asset flip is supposed to be.
For sure.
Yeah.
Or shovelware or abandonware, stuff like that. You know, people use a lot of terms a lot of the time and they don't mean exactly what they think they mean.
Oh,
People think that my voice is actually AI. I've had multiple people say that they think that my voice isn't real, because they're like, there's no way they had a voice actor do all these lines. There's no way. And you know, that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, even right now, Harrison is just typing out these lines and they go through.
This is an elaborate ruse.
I'm a very fast typer.
Yeah, I am staunchly against AI. Like, I wish people would just stop using it stuff.
Yeah.
Like, even like I've seen games with like AI generated voices, and it just irks me a little bit because like there's folks out there who use voice actors and then mix those same lines with AI generated stuff for a specific effect, but in the end it just sucks suddenly. Like they could just make humans sound robotic with filters or whatever, you know? Or some people try to justify it, but in reality it's like, you know, it sucks. I feel like a lot of people...
Yeah, go ahead, Christine.
I was gonna say in the demo, our programmer estimated there's 40,000 words of like narrative dialogue in the game. They're not all spoken by me, but they're spoken by lots of people. And I mean, I'd be shocked if the full game didn't have twice as many as that, just seeing how many storylines are not activated in the demo. And those are all written by Harrison or Bailey or Jackson. And it's just like, that's a huge point of pride for us, and it's really it takes conviction to be like, nope, that's all going to be us, and it's going to be a priority, it's going to be a value for us. And I think I'm excited to see how many gamers are actually really calling out that kind of stuff. I get comments all the time on the social media which I run, well, is this AI? I'm worried this is AI. And to be able to be like, no, it's not. I'm really excited people are actually seeking that as a market value for them.
We have several other contracted writers just to make sure we don't forget about them.
Thank you, Christy,
Jackson and Bailey. Yeah, we have lots of other. They're all fantastic.
Yeah.
But not a single line of it was written by AI.
Right.
It's great. Like I love how transparent you are about it, like the amount of effort that was put into it and how many contractors you have and like the credits and everything. And yes, some assets are made like by other people, not in-house, and that you go through lengths and many means, you know, to like make sure that everything is at least made handmade, you know? Like I think that is a very, very big like win for the indie sphere as well, especially. And it shows, like, the game is lovely. It's got such a wonderful community, good reviews. So many streamers as well played it and loved it. And yeah.
Just to loop back, you asked about pride. Like, I think the thing that I'm the most proud of is the people that we have found to be part of our community. And I see some of them are in chat, so I'm really excited to see them here. Excited to be here, you know, just to loop all the way back around to what you first asked. It was like, what was our favorite parts of designing it? And this right here, like, we've gotten onto some bigger streams and interviews on streams where there are people like 3,000-4,000 viewers, but like every time we hop into a stream where it's someone streaming in the dark to 0 viewers, and we hop in and we say, hey, Letter Lost devs, we're really excited to see, and their eyes light up and they're like, oh my god, who what, me, why are you here? Like I would take that 100 times over. I would take it one time over getting onto a stream with 4,000 people, because it just means that much to me. I'm gonna get choked up just saying it out loud. I love that so much, of just getting to connect with someone and make them feel like they are wanted and welcome.
I think it goes a long way. There's a lot of community managers out there who also do things, and I think there's no content creator who doesn't get at least a little bit happy when there's a developer in chat or someone who made a game and they play the game and it's cool, But yeah, like the game is coming out soon. Are there parts, like, will you be glad when it's finally done and you don't have to work on it anymore?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I'm so proud of the game, but I mean, the work level that we're at right now is unsustainable, but obviously we just got to get there. So we're also in a show right now. So like we work all day, go to a show at night, work all day, go to a show at night. So the show will close next weekend and the game will release the following weekend. And obviously there's going to be a lot of work after it's done, but like, the work-life balance is going to be an exciting thing to come back to. As Harrison said, though, like the work is very satisfying and enjoyable. And so I it's not like miserable or something like that, but it is just, it's hard. It's really hard to sustain the kind of work levels that we're at. So I want people to see it. Like there's so much, I'm just like, I want you guys to see it.
Yeah, that's more I was going to say, is I find it to be this really odd balance of like, it's something that I've held so closely to my chest for so long, of like I can't tell anyone about some of the things that we're doing, and people are asking and saying like, well, is this and is that this person and whatever else, and I can't say a thing. And so I'm really, really excited to see people learn more about this world, but at the same time the mystery of it is so it's fun to have people interested in a mystery too. And some of the best mysteries, whenever they're cracked open, like I'm looking at you, Snoke from Last Jedi, and things like that, where like when the mystery was more exciting than the actual reveal of it, and for us on this side of it, it is really fun to have a mystery that people are guessing at and things like that. And I'm just excited to have people talk more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really excited for like the first like lore breakdown video, because like we will sit with popcorn and watch it eagerly because we want to see people break down like the weird things that we put in and see where they go with it. So
yeah, I mean, the game is finally coming out. You mentioned earlier how it's been in development for 2+ years now. It's probably it's going to be weird for you guys to not be working on it for a while. But then again, there's bug fixes. There's items glitching through elevators or something, Not that there's elevators in the game, of course, but, it wouldn't make sense, right? But stuff like that, there's going to be bug fixes, hot fixes, lots of people possibly checking out the game and noticing things that shouldn't go the way they did. And post-launch crunch is also a thing. But yeah.
For sure.
Thanks a lot for your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to say or so?
Thank you so much for having us here. I would talk about this all day if I could, and then we would get nothing done, unfortunately. It's so much fun to talk about and to just to interact with people and see their enthusiasm for it too. It's a ton of fun, and we're just looking forward to living in this world with all of our fans for a bit and then seeing it develop as we go on.
And anything from our main branch live here?
No, I'm just excited. I'm excited for people to get to see it. When I watched the demo, I told Harrison last night, it's like watching a totally different game because the full game is just, there's so much that is not in the demo that I'm like, oh, I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Well, yeah, thanks a lot for your time. That was Christine and Harris from Flat9 Games. The game is releasing on May 28th this year. The demo is still out. Oh yeah, will the demo still be out by after the launch, or?
I don't think so. At this point, it's different enough to the main experience that I think within a week or so of the game launching, we'll probably pull the demo down, let the hype build a little bit, then release the game. And it's on the 27th in the US, 28th in UK and Europe.
Yeah, fair. I didn't realize that those were localized. But
I
yeah,
think
thanks
it's
a lot for
whatever
joining
time
in.
you set it on Steam is what it is. So it's gonna release in the evening of the 27th is what it's said.
I
So
see, I
then
see.
it would be, yeah.
Well, that's fair. It's lovely. Yeah, the game is coming out soon. You can wishlist it on Steam. You can check it out when it's fully out. And yeah, thanks a lot for joining me and answering so many weird and funny questions.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime, yeah.
A great evening.
All
You
right.
too.
Bye-bye.